Challenge USA by Yokohama heads into its closing stages. Every single point seems somehow even more important. And for our next two rounds, we're in farming country in Wisconsin, where for over half a century, tending the fields has lived side by side with motor racing. Racing on the public roads deemed too dangerous, and in the mid-1950s, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin got the facility that we now know as the brilliant Road America. Just over 4 miles, around and 14 corners, with action areas at the insanely quick right-hander at turn 1, tricky downhill, braking area at turn 5, the left-hander, turn 8, sort of similar, not quite as steep, then through the carousel, the fastest corner in America, the right-hander at the King, down to Canada corner, another out-braking point where you might do a little bit of overtaking. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh from IMSA Radio. It is a delight to be here at what the locals call America's National Park of Speed. Yes, Road America has seldom looked better. A lot of rain earlier on in the week, that's why the grass is so green, but no problems on that front as we have two different categories of Porsche Cup car ready to go racing. This year, the Platinum cars are the 2017 spec cars. They have the black number panel and mirrors. The Gold category cars, yellow mirrors and yellow door squares. So that's how you spot the two different categories of cars, but what are the differences, I hear you ask, and that's a good question. The Platinum cars are brand new for 2017, Generation or Gen 2 Type 991 Cup cars. Little extra power, some detail changes on the aero and some tweaks on the interior. The Gold Cup, well, that's for cars from 2014 to 2016, the previous iteration, if you will. We've already had some competition this weekend at Road America, and fabulous it looked and sounded as they charged off on the first lap. Trenton Estep, the first casualty, missed his braking point going downhill into turn 5. Then big drama in the Gold class. Runaway leader, the 78 of Roman De Angelis with tail light problems. The officials called him in. That left Kurt Fazekas in the lead in the Gold category. Alan Bentley in the white 99 iFly car went off at turn 1 into the gravel. He did get pulled out of the gravel, but as he was charging back through the field, had another incident just after the King, hit Bill Smith's car and had a huge accident. The good news, both drivers fine. Bad news was we had to end under full course yellow. Corey Fergus taking Platinum from Jake Edson, and in third the Proto Coffee car of Sebastian Landi. In the Gold category, it was Kurt Fazekas holding on to that victory from Levitas and Victor Gomez, the fourth. Now, how does that leave the standings? Well, Jake Edson still really controlling the Platinum, 28 points ahead of Estep in second. Corey Fergus is just a further 4 points behind in third. Fred Keimer leads Gold by 5. Fazekas another 5 back in third, and Victor Gomez the fourth, making it 4 drivers within 16 points at the top of the championship. Well, it looks like everyone is out of the pit lane and on their green flag lap, their formation lap. So that means that we'll be going racing in just a few moments here at Road America at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, for the IMSA Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama. I can think of few better places in the world to be than exactly where I am now, watching these cars on this circuit. I suppose you could call it a natural environment for the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama. Lights are out on the Miami Blue 911 safety car. Here's how they're going to line up for the green flag. Corey Fergus on pole from McKay Snow, who had a bit of an up-and-down race yesterday. Landi and Edson are the championship contenders. They're on row 2. It's Hardeman and Estep on row 3. Row 4 is an all-right motorsports affair. Anthony Imperato and Andrew Long. Then Roman De Angelis and Jeff Mosing. De Angelis, the best of the Gold Cup runners. There he is in the yellow and grey car, just moving into line. Alongside me in the IMSA broadcast booth is Jeremy Shaw, and we are right next to the green flag. The cars are just coming up the hill towards us now. The safety car is in the pit lane. beautiful sight. Sunshine on top of 21 flat 6 engined Porsche 911s as we go racing, and the flag waved by the new man at the head of Porsche Motorsport in North America, Dr. Daniel Armbruster, and we are racing here at America's National Park of Speed. It settles down just about through the first corner, and the man on the move, Mackay Snow, comes through into second place, but Corey Fergus, Jeremy Shaw got an absolute belter of a start from pole position.
He did. It looked like Sebastian Landy was challenging Mackay Snow up toward turn 1, but had to tuck it back into line. Jake Edson took full advantage. Rover only outside of it, turn 1, up into third place, the championship leader. That is car number 24, but it is Corey Fergus after that brilliant drive yesterday. Absolutely inch perfect, super consistent and fast, who leads the way down toward turn 5.
Already under pressure from Mackay Snow, who's had a couple of races here this weekend of 2 parts. When he's been good, he's been very, very good, but when he hasn't, frankly, he's been a little bit off the pace.
Yeah, slipped back to the lower reach of the top 10 on each occasion after starting up toward the front. So you'll be hoping today that Wright Motorsports car number 63 is better towards the end of the race than the beginning.
Yeah, the choice here for all of the teams and drivers is how do you set the car up for the 45-minute contest. They're heavy at the start, they're lighter at the end because you burn off the fuel. The Yokohama tyres are very durable. The drivers tell us that they are pretty consistent all the way through, but there is a choice to be made. Limited amount of changes that you can do in setup, but you can set the car up to be good at the end on used tyres with light fuel load, or at the beginning heavy on brand new tyres. You do the latter of that, you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, I've got to make up some positions, or I've got to try and make a break, and hopefully not get, if you're in the front of the field, any full course yellows. If you set it up to be good at the end, then you've got to save your tyres just a little bit and be patient, Jeremy. And some of these drivers are better at doing that than others.
They are. That number 49 Ford Coffee Machine, currently in 4th place, Sebastian Landy. His car clearly yesterday was much better towards the end of the race. He was absolutely flying, got himself onto the podium with a really good run, just really built his confidence in that car. He's lost a place here at the start as Jake Edson moves to the inside of Mackay Snow into turn 1. What a great pass by Jake Edson, late on the brakes and gets that pass. Can he get back into line to defend down to turn 3 though, John?
Yeah, and straight away he pulls into the middle of the road. Now he goes back to the racing line. That's all right, don't have any issue with that. Came from a long way back there, Jeremy, but it was decisive. There was no doubt he was on his way. Mackay heads up driving there, very fair, didn't try to shut the door. It would have ended, I think, in 2 Porsches on the outside of turn number 1. So Edson, the man on the move early, Corey Fergus with half a second lead. Fergus just moving around at the head of the field, defending. Maybe that took the eye line of young Mackay Snow, as he was thinking that he was challenging for the lead. In the end, he should have been defending second position. Jake Edson says thanks very much and sets off after the leader.
Yeah, and on that first lap, well, Alan Metney perhaps didn't start, nor maybe Bill Smith, I'm not sure, number 99.
Oh yeah, they had accident yesterday, didn't they?
Indeed. But number 19 has fallen right to the back, as has Victor Gomez in the Gold Cup contending car number 25, Will Hardeman. He was due to start in the 5th position for Moresby, the teammate to our race leader, Corey Fergus. He's always fast, but he is now going to work his way from the back of the field in car number 19. That's Will Hardeman.
CJ Wilson's had a good start, up 6 places in that opening lap or so. Not been the best of weekend for CJ either. Had a hose pull off the radiator yesterday and he retired the 33 Porsche Fresno sponsored car, but he is now up into the higher reaches of the GT3 Gold category, 10th position in Platinum, and having a decent race this time. Let's hope that continues for the former Major League Baseball pitcher, now very much concentrating on his motor racing and his business. A lot of car dealerships that he's looking after in his business interests, and the Porsche Fresno machine now comes around the final corner with ahead of him. Next target will be Mike Levitas, who is 3rd in GT3 Gold. Battle for the lead down into first corner, and Edson's going round the outside of the leader. He can't make that stick, surely. No, he has to drop back into line. Got his nose ahead for a moment, as a spin, and it's Jeff Morsing's gone around to turn 1. Now, could have been help there. Looked like he was on his own. Meantime, the lead did change. And that's an interesting one for the officials, because Edson did go off the circuit to get on to terms with the leader. Jake Edson for Kelly Moss Road and Race, leading the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama into turn 1. This is where he got the lead, but he had to go off the track to do it. Corey Fergus still second, then Snow and Sebastian Landing, and he's pulling over. The leader is pulling over. Now that must be then because he knows he got the lead by going off track. It would seem that a message has got to Jake Edson, and to stop him having to be penalised in some way, shape or form, he has given the lead back, and I think that's a smart bit of restitution there from the Kelly Moss Road and Race team, perhaps prompted by race control, perhaps have taken it on themselves there, but I think that's very fair. What it does do, Jeremy, is it in some ways it keeps the race going, because if he'd had to come through for a drive-through, he would have been taken out of it. May still have be having a little chat with the race director afterwards, but again, good stuff from these guys. It's good competition. We see very close quarters racing. Yes, sometimes there's a little bit of contact, but it's seldom, if ever, been malicious. There's a good spirit of healthy competition, but respectful competition up and down the paddock here in Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama, and that's good to see. Yeah, certainly is. We've seen some fantastic races this season. Yesterday was a good one. It initially started off as a group of two groups of 3 cars, very, very closely matched. It distilled later on in a couple of 2-car battles. Looking now at the car number 78, that is the youngster Roman De Angelis, just 16 years of age. He's been an absolute revelation this season, making the move from open wheel racing in F1600. He was a championship contender last year, continued to race in F1600, but clearly got a future ahead of him now in the Porsches as well. Yeah, it's a big jump up for him in terms of power, also the weight of the car, but he has been very impressive in the way that he's attacked his driving. Started the season in the Canadian version of this championship, also administered and run by IMSA, the Ultra 94 Porsche Cup by Yokohama. Didn't have an awful lot of competition up there, and the team and him, as the 52 goes around, that's Kurt Fasikas. Now, he was second. He was second in the Gold Cup. He's back on his purple. Indeed so. He's back on his purple wheels today, I see, as well. So just going back to De Angelis, who leads that Gold Cup. I think it was a self-in... Oh, no, well, 2 cars involved there. Will Hardiman, who's down the field a little bit. We did mention that he struggled out of the pit lane a little bit on the form-up lap, so Will hasn't had the best of opening 5 laps. I'll get this thought out about Roman De Angelis. Started in the Canadian Series in the Gold Cup. Not all that much competition for him, and has done some of the championship down here, and it looks like between him and the team, the decision's been made to do a little more of the US series, the series that we're watching now, and I think that's a smart move. He's got to make up for a couple of rounds that he didn't take part in, Jeremy, but if he keeps going the way he is, he's certainly going to be a championship contender. I mean, he is a championship contender. Yeah, and he was, despite the fact he missed the 2 races at Circuit of the Americas back in May, he was came into yesterday's race only 2 points behind the Gold Cup leader coming into this weekend, which is Fred Keimer. Unfortunately, yesterday he had a mechanical problem during the race, said Roman De Angelis, and the rear tail lights decided not to work. He had to come into the pits, fix them and go back out again, so lost a lap, so lost some ground in the championship. Yes, but it's still very tight in that championship in the gold category, Jeremy. Just 16 points cover the top 4. Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama action at Road America. Great battles in the field, and meanwhile at the front, Corey Fergus then restored to the lead after restitution given by Jake Edson. Made the pass as a result of taking advantage going wide on the first corner, it's 9/10 of a second. Then a half a second back to McKay Snow in third position in the 63 car, the red and white machine. Then Sebastian Landy in the 49. He's just 7/10 further back. And making up the top 5, Trenton Estep. So excited I can't get his name out. Sorry, Trenton. In the black and gold JDX racing car. And those top 5 are separated by under 3 seconds as they flash past our IMSA Radio broadcast booth here. And down towards turn number 1 to start their 7th racing lap. And it's McKay Snow, Jeremy, at the moment, who is trying to put pressure on Jake Edson. The battle for second place is the hot one on the track at the moment.
Indeed it is, because Corey Fergus just set the best lap of the race last time around, 2 minutes 12.1. That's only about 3/4 of a second away from the pole time, so some good speed in this race. And once again, Corey Fergus is driving an exemplary race. There wasn't a hint of a mistake yesterday, and despite the fact he was under intense pressure pretty much the whole way, but now he's got a margin of 6 or 7 car lengths probably over Jake Edson, who has the number 63 car of McKay Snow within a car length or 2 of him. So Edson's really got to worry about number 63 car as much as trying to find a way past the race leader. 4 different teams, 5 different teams represented among the top 5 drivers at the moment. It's more speed based in Austin, Texas, that leads the way with Corey Fergus, a 00 car. Number 24, Jake Edson drives a Kelly Moss Road and Race. They're from Madison, Wisconsin, so not far from here. Pretty much a home race for that team, certainly. McKay Snow drives for Wright Motorsports based in Ohio. Sebastian Landy for Alex Job Racing down in Florida. And Trenton Estep for JDX Racing in Colorado. So we've got the country fairly well covered. Yes. Top 5 positions in this race.
It's worth mentioning that, because when this series was first mooted as part of IMSA, it was thought that the entrants would only be part of the events that went to tracks in their region, and you would sort of get a moving number of drivers throughout this. This is going back into the old ALMS days for IMSA. And as soon as it was announced, I think it was Tim Mayer who was putting this together back in those days, that they got, I think, 26 or 30 full season entries, and they thought, hello, we're on to something here. Quite a remarkable thing that these guys trail around the country with their cars. The teams, they're sort of evolved into 3 or 4 mega teams that run a number of cars out of their trailers, and that works very, very well. And of course it means that drivers can take advantage of the team's knowledge. Big slide from Trixie 3.0. That's the new 3.1, should I say. It's the new chassis for Jeff Mosing. Jeff's still suffering a little bit from injuries that he sustained in the Watkins Glen aborted race, the first race up there in Finger Lakes region of New York State. And this is a brand new car because the old one has been turned into a coffee table. There wasn't much to salvage from Trixie 3.0. So Trixie 3.1 is the new car.
Yeah, going to literally to the crusher.
It's a nice cube.
Yes.
Yes.
Great battle here towards the back of the field. Kurt Fazekas in car number 52. In car number 25 is Victor Gomez from Puerto Rico. Both of those two guys have had different spin or something, or contact or whatever, to put them to the back of the pack. But Kurt Fazekas yesterday finally got a very well-deserved first victory in the Gold Cup class. And the Gold Cup points coming into this weekend are really, really tight. 136 points for Fred Keimer, who still leads. He's in car number 23. 132 to Roman DeAngelis, who leads the class right now. Kurt Fazekas has 128 after that first win yesterday. And Victor Gomez, despite missing the first 2 rounds of the season because he drove a platinum car at Sebring, which was then destroyed in an accident, hence he's driving the older car now and in the Gold Cup. He's 122, so only 14 points behind. So all to play for in Gold Cup. And now Jake Edson, on this lap, he slipped back again from the race leader and under intense pressure from McKay Snow as they come off turn 14. And Sebastian Landy right there as well.
a 3 Porsche 911 Cup train as they come past us again from our right to left. We're just by the start-finish line, and it looks like Snow has got the run, and Landy's coming through as well. Edson holds the inside. He's going to defend into the right-hander at turn 1. Gets the car turned in, has to hold it on the track. Both of them slide wide. Here comes Landy. Looks to the outside, but then thinks better of it. He's going to try the old over and under, but has Snow seen him? I don't think he has, and has to back out of that one as well. Landy in that 49 car with the Photo Coffee sponsorship, sort of a dark colour with the orange on it, and the red and white of Wright Motorsports for Mackay Snow. Kelly Moss Road and Race at the lead of that group with the 24 car of Jake Edson. A little bit of a gap opening up between Corey Ferguson and Jake Edson, and he's trying to bridge that gap at the moment. The 00 and the 24 are first and second, and there's a second and a half between them. Further second back, this battle for third position. Last step on the podium if it was to end now. Mackay Snow has it. Sebastian Landy in the 49 car wants it. Down to the carousel. Now, can Landy just set that car up and get a good exit? We are coming down to, in fact, almost exactly at half distance in terms of time, and it is a time certain 45-minute contest here at Road America. Through the kink. Fantastic sounds from these cars. Now, last lap around at the first corner. Further back down the field, the battles in the Gold Cup category going on, with Fred Kamer going by the 45 of Charlie Luck.
Yeah, it's a great battle going on there. That's
for second place in GT Gold, isn't it?
Yeah, good point, it is. And so Fred Kamer, yeah, he wants to, if he can stay there, he will maintain his championship lead. So that's what he wants to do in that caliber 23 for MGT Motorsport.
Very, very lucky not to get caught up in the accident from Mentney and Smith yesterday. A masterful piece of avoidance, and that's why his car is on the grid today, to allow him to hold on to that position. Mike Levitas now having a look at Luke. 45 and 36 are third and fourth in their GT3 Gold category. Now, this is for the slightly older cars, so for up to 2016 spec. And down the inside, coming from a long, long way back, the 52 car, Kurt Vazigis. No way he's going to get stopped into Canada corner and causes absolute mayhem there as he came from way back. He was in fifth in the category, and there was 5 cars between him and where he wanted to go, because there's a Platinum Masters car in there, Mark Varmy as well, and somehow he managed to miss everybody. Look at him come here, Jeremy. There's no chance he's getting this stopped.
That was certainly a bit optimistic, and hats off there to Victor Gomez, who did a really good job.
Yeah, in the green and orange car.
Yeah, because it looked like Kurt Vazigis was going to spin back to the inside, which was where Victor Gomez was originally headed. Then hats off to Kurt Vazigis for getting on the brakes and stopping the car right away. But by that time, Victor Gomez already decided, oh, I'm going to hit him, so I've got to go to the outside. So he had to go even farther around the outside, lost a lot of time, but no contact.
Jeremy Shaw, we've got some drama here for the third place car. A mechanical black flag is out for the 63 brake light issue. Now, we saw this yesterday on Roland De Angelis' car, but that's an older version of the car. They're not the same car, so that's not necessarily the same problem. Looks like the brake lights are on all the time on that car, rather than not coming on at all. And the race control officials have noticed it. Have a look at the 63 as it comes through Canada corner and turns right. Landy right with him, yeah. All of the brake lights and the rear fog lights, the high intensity warning lights that the street car would have for limited visibility conditions, seem to be on there. And
very bizarre.
bizarre.
I don't ever remember having anybody having any sort of issues like that in the past. Now twice in 2 days.
But with 2 different forms of the car, Jeremy. Yeah. Remember, these are 2 different iterations. The orange and the orange spot on the black flag for 63, and the number held out over the start-finish line just to our left. So Sebastian Landy needs to be sensible here. Doesn't have to take a chance, because Mackay Snow has got to go into the pit lane at some stage. He's defending for all he's worth at the moment, and that's fine because he's still out there on the track. But at some stage, he's going to go into the pit lane to try and get those brake lights fixed.
Yeah, and what's odd about that also, he's clearly got some sort of a problem, because over the last lap and a half, he's dropped a lot of ground to Jake Edsley, who was right with him, and now he's...
He was 2 seconds slower last time around, Jeremy.
And that has allowed Trenton Esteban kind of a three to close right in on this battle.
That's really good officiating and good eyes from the judges of fact, which is all around corner workers and flaggers around the circuit, to have spotted that and reported it back to race control. Really important that the drivers know when the drivers are on the brakes. Landy did get up alongside a moment or two ago. In fact, got his nose ahead, going down the back of the circuit down into turn 5, but McKay Snow managing to hold on to the inside and keep hold of that position as the 49 Ford Coffee car tried to come round the outside. He's been up on the door panel a couple of times as Landy, not being able to turn that into a pass. Yeah, very off-putting to have those high-intensity lights on the back of the 63 car. Guys do have radios, so the team will be telling him. Big lock up this time.
Yeah, he's got some sort of brake issue with that car, hasn't he, clearly?
Do you think the brake is dragging, maybe?
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering.
And that's why the brake lights are on.
Something odd. Side by side through turn 13. That's brave by Sebastian Landy. He's got that. He made that pass stick. He's going to have the inside into turn 14. Great move there by Sebastian Landy, car number 49.
Yeah, and that now gives him the opportunity as the 63 car does peel off in the pit. So Trent Nesta had the advantage there. He's now got Sebastian Landy just a couple of tenths of a second in his sights. DeAngelis leading the GT3 Gold Cup category in the 78 car. Mentioned him earlier on, the guy who has been doing 2 series and now looks like he's going to concentrate on the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama, up into 7th overall.
Certainly hope so. And his best lap in this race, by the way, in that older car, 2 minutes 13.5.
Wow.
Which is, well, 2 3/4 quicker than any of the other Gold Cup class cars. The lap record here in the Gold Cup is a 2:15.2 for the race lap record, so he's way underneath that, having turned a best of a 2:13.5. The overall race record for the Platinum class is a 2 minutes 12.4. And the fastest lap in this race has eclipsed that, because Corey Fergus turned a 2 minutes 12.1 earlier.
In fairness, that was a Gold Cup car now, what we would call a Gold Cup car. True. Because we have changed the formula on the Platinum class cars with the new cars for this year. So effectively that sets a new lap record for this iteration of cars, the first time that they've been here. Kurt Fasika's working his way past Greg Palmer a couple of moments ago at the first corner, and is now back up to 5th in gold. He's got 13 seconds to get onto the back of that battle between Charlie Luck and Victor Gomez. Will he be able to pull away and get that done? That is the battle that's coming past us now across the start-finish line.
Yeah, and Charlie Luck, who he did some NASCAR racing quite a long time ago now, as Victor Gomez looks to the inside.
Not quite there. Did you see what Charlie did there? That was really smart. He didn't block him by pulling over him. He just turned in the corner really early. I like that. I've got a feeling that Victor is not going to be denied for very much longer, as Snow is back in the pit lane, presumably not having fixed the brake light issue. What a shame.
Very disappointing, because it's been a really strong run for McKay, at least for parts of each of the races.
Yeah, if he could only put all of his best parts together, he would have had a couple of really good results. I don't think this is a banner weekend. No lights at all on the back of that car now. Only when he turned the lights off. So yes, there is something not quite right there. Meantime,
good defensive driving going on there by Charlie Luck.
Absolutely agree.
He's got a lot of friends in the NASCAR world. He quit the sport to concentrate on the family business, and making a comeback this year. Absolutely loving it, tremendously enthusiastic, and been racing well too.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoying his time in these Cup cars, and why wouldn't you? Over even last year's cars, the Gen 1 of the Porsche 991 type body shape for the venerable 911, producing something around 470 horsepower. 485 claimed for the Gen 2 cars, but that's very conservative. Talking to drivers who've driven the cars back-to-back in Europe. Long chat with Tim Harvey, the most successful Porsche Cup driver in UK Carrera Cup. Drove them back-to-back at Knock Hill, a little tight and twisty circuit in Scotland. And he and I did the TV broadcast for the Porsche Cup race at Le Mans this year before the 24 hours. And he was saying they are really very different indeed, considering they're based on the same model of car. A big step forward for the Gen 2 cars. But the Gen 1 still doing great work in the Gold Cup. Oh, that's a little bit naughty from Charlie. Look, he did squeeze Victor towards the pit wall there, closed the door. Victor had to back out and push to the left-hand side of the track, going down to turn 1. Don't like to see that, closing people into the pit wall, using the pit wall as a bit of intimidation. But look, comes down the inside. He's fought back well there. That's a lovely manoeuvre down the hill. Tough braking when you're braking into a corner, when you're going downhill. Very easy, Jeremy, to get it wrong and either under brake or over brake and make a complete Horlicks of the corner. Yeah, and Victor Gomez finally gets that pass done. He's clearly getting, I think, a little bit frustrated behind Charlie. Look, he's made that pass now, and you'll see now if you can try and pull away a little bit. But it's he now who is defending the inside line down into turn 5. I should mention Fred Kamer is, what, 7.5 seconds up the road from these two guys. He's in second in GT3 Gold and still leading Roman De Angelis. He's well ahead. Just coming across the start-finish line. There was a 911's gap there for a moment, but Charlie Look was discouraging Victor Gomez from going to the right-hand side. And he then moved across towards the left-hand side of the track. It wasn't all the way over the left, but arguably he was sort of blocking there to the other side of the track, and that is a no-no. You know, if you defend on the inside line, you're not allowed to go back and defend again on the outside either. But clean as a whistle coming down the hill. All's well that ends well, right? Yeah. Good right on the ragged edge of what's allowable. It's for a podium position. I understand why you want to defend. As Edson has closed in on him, he's just picked up his pace a little bit. I always think that's a mark of a very good driver, Jeremy, when you're either being told by your pit board or more likely here by the guys in the ears on the pits to car radio, right? You're fine, keep it at that. Oh, right, okay, Edson's got a bit of a wiggle on. He's coming at you. Can you pick up the pace a little bit? Maybe 3 or 4 tenths, half a second a lap, okay. There's some kind of internal clock there, which great drivers, all the great drivers have, to be able to pace themselves like that. Yeah, and Corey Ferguson, he's done a lot of winning in his career. Won SCCA championships, he's won World Challenge championships, he's won just about everything he's ever competed in. So a really talented young guy. He's struggled for years and years to get the brakes to move into the professional ranks, but he's done that now, and he's giving an excellent account of himself this season. Jake Edson still has a pretty handy championship lead, but he's already had 4 wins to his name, and Corey Ferguson potentially here is looking at his 3rd win of the season. Sebastian Landi sitting in a comfortable 3rd position at the moment. He's 5 seconds behind the leader, but 2.5 ahead now of Trenton Estep. Estep in that classic black and gold Hertz machine, sitting in 4th position. He's 5 seconds ahead of Anthony Imperato, who hasn't made the impact on this race as he did earlier in the weekend, although it has to be said that Anthony was very good in the early parts of the races, faded a little bit in the last third. But Anthony still holding on to 5th position in that number 91 car, but he's now 14 seconds away from the leader, which remains Corey Fergus with 6 minutes to go. Yeah, and that was a good lap last time around by Corey, 2 minutes 12.59. He found half a second basically over the lap, the pace he had been running up until then. And Corey Fergus then just stretches out to 1.4 seconds. Sebastian Landi's not given up, getting on terms with Jake Edson here. He's got the gap down to under 5 seconds, and he's just put in his own personal best first sector of the track. So he's got something left in that Photo Coffee car in third position. Maybe, just maybe, he saved a little bit of tyre performance from the Yokohamas. Maybe the team have just said to him, right, come on, it's go time. Let's see what you've got left. You've got something like a couple of seconds between yourself and Estep. As long as you don't throw it at the scenery, the third place and the podium step there is fairly safe. Let's see what you've got. Come on, got into qualifying mode, and he's picked up his pace here. Comes up the hill now.
Just 5 minutes to go then in this 45-minute race. Time for another probably 3 laps. So there's still plenty of time, but the gap, I think, I don't unless Edson makes a mistake, I don't see any way Sebastian Lande can catch him. And Corey Fergus with not a super fast lap, that's back into his regular pace around about 2 minutes 13. And it was Jake Edson once again. He's the guy who's struggling for consistency in this race, because he turns a quick lap and then a slower lap, and by quite a wide margin too.
Yeah, and 6/10 quicker than Edson is Sebastian Lande, 2:12.9, just 3.5, 4 tenths away from his best lap of the race in that 49 car. But the More Speed 00 is continuing to lead under the Corvette bridge and turning in slightly blind there as you're turning over the top of the hill to turn number 6. Lovely serpentine run of the circuit here. Turn 7, much quicker than you think it is when you look at the track map. Take a huge amount of speed down the hurry downs, all downhill there to turn 8. Easy to get turn 8 wrong and drift out wide. Then set the car up for the carousel, which you could take out your e-reader and read a chapter or so the amount of time you're in that right-hander. It is a very long corner indeed, and it falls away in the middle and then picks up again. You can really feel the car hooking up there, right to the edge of the track and down towards the kink.
And Victor Gomez, having made that pass to Charlie Luck, has pulled well away now.
Yeah.
What's interesting for me is the battle now going on for the Masters class in Platinum. David Baker has led pretty much the whole way since the early spin for Jeff Mosing, but now Jeff Mosing is closing in again. So the number 01 car, Jeff Mosing, is pretty much on the tail of his fellow Texan David Baker.
We mentioned Kurt Fasicas there, Victor Gomez there, and he's halved the deficit between himself and Fred Keimer. I think time's going to run out, but Victor, having got past Charlie Luck after that great battle, he's sitting in third. Here's the battle going down into turn 3 from Jeff Mosing, chasing at the moment and looking for another gold class victory. David Baker has that maximum point score at the moment.
4 wins in the Masters this year for Jeff Mosing, 2 for David Baker. Jeff Mosing, however, did not take part in the, well, what was effectively the second race at Watkins Glen because of the major accident he had in the first round there. That car was pretty much destroyed, but he is still kind of in contention. Well, I guess he's not in the points, is he? He's dropped back in the points now. So the points battle really is between David Baker and Mark Kawami right now, with Mosing missing. He missed the first race here, the make-up race from Watkins Glen as well. So he's pretty much out of the points contention, but he wants the wins.
Yeah, he will be the driver, or could be the driver with the most wins on the season. Coming through turn 14, the final right-hander, using all the roads. Corey Fergus in the More Speed Porsche will see the white flag raised above the starter stand and now waved for him, and through goes Jake Edson in second. Now, where is Sebastian Lande? They're on their last 4 mile. There he is. He's really closed in. 3.5 seconds now between himself and second. In time is going to run out far too quickly for Sebastian Lande, who's almost judged this to perfection, pulling back on the leaders in gold. The 78 Porsche of Roman De Angelis, proudly displaying the maple leaf on the back of his car. He comes to the top of the hill and he is in 7th overall. That's a really good run again for him. Super consistent, doesn't have quite the pace down the straights with the new cars having a little more horsepower. But my goodness, he knows how to race, and he's sensibly raced. Battled the platinum cars when he's needed to, but let them get away when it hasn't been going his way. And he's en route to the top step of the podium in the Gold Cup category. Now, Platinum Masters, I'm not sure. Baker and Mosing, just 7/10 between them as they went past us to start their last lap.
Yeah, and while Roman De Angelis got the Gold Cup class pretty much under control, Victor Gomez, he pulled in a second and a half last lap on Fred Keimer, so that's the battle isn't yet over. That's
a super drive by Victor Gomez. He was 7.5 seconds behind Keimer when he made the pass on Charlie Look. I remember seeing that on the screen. Now, Masters category. These are the gentlemen with a few more years behind them. David Baker then. He's driven a very good race, David. Can't fault him for that. Jeff Mosing, remember, we saw him have that little incident early on, but he's fought back from that. And now, within sight, this is the last lap. Corey Fergus with 1 3/4 seconds on Edson. Edson holding that 3.5 second gap back to Landy now. Landy not really able to make too much on that penultimate lap. Out of the final corner, the 21st and final time, the 45 minutes has elapsed, and it will be another win for Corey Ferguson for More Speed. And he takes the second race of the weekend here at Road America for the Road America round. And it is top points, top step of the podium, and top driving for Corey Fergus.
Excellent performance once again by Corey Fergus from Columbus, Ohio. The third generation racer. His father was a very successful IMSA. His grandfather raced as well, particularly did a lot of historic racing later on. And here comes Roman De Angelis. This is a young talent. This really is a guy to watch in the future, John.
Remember this name, Roman De Angelis. Remember where you saw him racing and where you heard us talking about him. He has a future in sports car racing. He's going to win the GT3 Gold category right behind Mosing and Baker, absolutely side by side. They'll come over the top together. I couldn't pick them apart. I could not pick them apart. And it's going to be on the timing. It's Mosing. Mosing's taking it right on the line by 0.005 of a second. My goodness, perfect judgment. And a huge celebratory donut on the outside of turn 1 by Jeff Mosing. Oh, don't put it in the wall, Jeff, after all of that. Trixie doesn't deserve that. Trixie 3.1 has certainly come of age this weekend. What a drive. Drive yourself happy, the motto of Mosing Motorcars. What a finish there up the hill. David Baker defending for all he's worth and did a really good job. They came out of the final corner. Jeff went to the left and then got to the right-hand side. It looked like David had held him off. As they came over the top of the brow, they were pretty much side by side. And as they went past us, I looked up to the line, which is right in front of us, and I couldn't tell. I could barely see any of the rhubarb and custard colour scheme of Jeff Mosing's car ahead of David Baker. I wasn't sure because of the slight angle that we're on, but 0.005 on the timing screen tells the tale of the tape, and Mosing takes the Masters category.
Superb, absolutely superb. That was incredible. It looked like he hit the turbo boost button coming up the hill or something. I don't know. But behind him too, those other battles we were talking about, Fred Keimer just held off Victor Gomez by 0.2 of a second. And then a little bit further back as well, number 43 car of Mark Guamin got past Greg Palmer on the run to the line as well. So a tremendously exciting final lap.
Well, do you know, I think I've just about got my breath back after that fantastic run to the line from Jeff Mosing in the Gold Cup category on the final lap here at Road America, which has once again delivered the kind of action and excitement we've come to expect down the last 50 years and more. Here's how they've finished. Top 6 are all platinum runners, with Fergus, Edson and Landry on the podium. Roman De Angelis making up for his disappointment yesterday with the tail light problem. Not only wins Gold Cup, but is well inside the top 10 overall in that older car. That was a very good result indeed for Roman. Let's hear from our overall winner, Corey Fergus.
Yeah, it was a great race, just like yesterday. Started from the pole and led the whole thing, except for a little bit there in the middle with Jake, and it was just a hard-fought race again. And, a lot of fun, really special for us in particular. Had a lot of guys from the dealership come out and support me this weekend. They actually drove from 10 p.m. to 6:30 in the morning to come here and watch us win. So it's really, really special, and couldn't be happier.
In Platinum, Jake Edson has a handy 34-point lead over Corey Fergus in second. He's 9 ahead of Trenton Estep. Got to think those top 3 are the favourites, one of them at least, for the championship this year. Victor Gomez is still only 16 points away from the lead in gold. Kurt Fazekas in third. Fred Keimer leads it, but now only by 1 point from Roman De Angelis, the winner of our second race.
Honestly, the race is pretty uneventful for us, to be honest, but no, I think I learned a lot just about basically providing something to push towards without a car in front of me. So I was just trying to be consistent, trying to beat my lap time. Pretty uneventful, but no, awesome car again for Mark Motors Best Line Racing, and couldn't ask for a better weekend, so thank you.
Thanks to our hard-working production team and to my IMSA Radio colleague, Jeremy Shaw. I'm John Hindhaugh. Join us again for our next Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama event. We're staying in the countryside, but this time in Virginia.
There is always a comparison.
2017 has ushered in a brand new formula and a new look to the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda. For the season finale, tradition takes over as we head to Road Atlanta, the circuit which started the renaissance of North American sports car racing when back in 1998 Dr. Dom Pano staged the very first Petit Le Mans. That great race is celebrating its 20th running this weekend on a 2.54-mile circuit that is as challenging as ever. Action areas at turn 1, particularly after the start or restarts. And look for the exit from turn 7 to get a good run down the hill towards the heavy braking area at turn 10. But even then, it's not all over. The left-hand diving turn at the end of the lap is another real challenge for the drivers. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh from IMSA Radio. Delighted to welcome you to Road Atlanta. Just a little bit overcast, but the temperature's still in the mid-60s Fahrenheit. It's slick Yokohama tyres for all of the cars out there today. Two different categories of cars, brand new for 2017, the LMP3 cars with the big V8 and the closed roofs. The MPC cars are Mazda-powered prototypes, the open-top cars. Colin Thompson has all but wrapped up the LMP3 standings. Kenton Koch, at 18 points in arrears, has to hope for some disaster to befall Colin at the top of the standings. Whilst in MPC, Kyle Masson has already claimed the championship. Chris Wright and Tazio Otis still fighting for second place. The first race of the weekend was yesterday in beautiful sunshine conditions. A great start from Kenton Koch, who very quickly built up a handy lead. all the action was going on behind him. Watch the 86 car as it turns into corner number 7. Dave House getting a rather unfriendly bump and ending up facing in the wrong direction. Kenton Cook takes it from Robbie Foley and Colin Thompson in the LMP3 category. Another win for Kyle Masson, with Chris Wright coming home in second ahead of Tassi Ortis. That was yesterday, and those results count for nothing right now as the field are putting some heat into their Continental tyres. The green flag at Road Atlanta is next. This weekend, it's the 20th running of Petit Le Mans, and the crowds have come out in their tens of thousands. Great way to finish off our IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda season. Sun just behind the clouds at the moment, keeping the surface temperature down on the track. The lights are out on the Mazda MX-5 RF safety car. Kenton Cook from Colin Thompson, Foley, Ave, Kyle Masson, the best of the MPC runners on the inside of row 3. It's a mixed grid here. We don't split up the LMP3 and the MPC cars. Everyone has to scrap for their own piece of the racing circuit. Well, as the safety car now comes through the turn 10 complex, it's pulling away from our pole sitter. Kenton Cook now has the field under his control. The grid is forming up very nicely behind him. In the IMSA radio booth, Jeremy Shaw and Shea Adam.
Green flag is out. Another perfectly clean start by Kenton Cook. And this time, Colin Thompson wasting no time defending from Robbie Foley. But it is that Ave Riley of Tony Ave who got the best start of them all. He came from 4th, and he went right around Robbie Foley at the green flag, made his way up to 3rd, and is battling as there is chaos unfolding in the MPC class. Michael Klemecki goes around. Nobody collects him. That was a very good avoidance displayed by everybody else's. Black MPC car goes straight off. A big cloud of smoke in the background from all that tire spinning action happening, but thankfully nobody with a damaged car after that one. That is the 32. Gerhard Watzinger drove off the course. We saw that in the back picture. He's very well off of the tarmac as Gary Gibson is making a pass on Chris Wright. Wow, frantic opening lap here, Jeremy, for everybody.
Yeah, certainly was there, and a couple of cars involved in that instant up at turns 1 and 2, and Gerhard Watzinger pulling off. That's a shame. He had a good run going yesterday, but out front is another perfect start from Kenton Cook, and he's looking good. Colin Thompson slotted into second. It was a great start from Tony Ave, the veteran, but he's not able to keep up on that opening lap. Fallen back a little bit, but he did get ahead of Robbie Foley on that start.
Chris Wright able to repass Gary Gibson when they came down the back straight, but Gary maintained the inside line and got the position back as they come through turns 8, 9, and under the bridge. Leader of the first lap is Kenton Cook. He has less than a second over Colin Thompson in that number 14 Norma, ahead of Tony Ave in the Ave Riley. Jeremy, is this the first time all season we've had 3 different makes in the top 3?
Yeah, it would be, I'm sure.
Wow. What
Absolutely
a great
right.
start.
Good to see, certainly. And by my reckoning, Colin Thompson has just wrapped up the championship. We've only got 8 cars starting this race. So even if he goes out now, he's going to finish in 8th, which is going to be worth the 8 points. Colin Thompson can only get another 20 for winning a race. So I reckon Colin Thompson's got it wrapped up. And he is now going to chase after Kenton Cook and see if he can perhaps turn it into a victory. But just spoke to those two right before the start, and Colin was saying, is a yellow flag?
Full course caution is out. Jay Salmon and M. Bart Wolf have come back into the pit lane. Slight damage for the latter's car, but this would be to retrieve that stricken car of Gerhard Watzinger, who is slowly maneuvering around the circuit. Groundskeeping. But Jeremy, you were saying you talked to the championship too.
Yeah, and Colin Thompson reckons that the Ligier can build its heat into its tyres a little bit quicker than the Norma. It's got a little bit more downforce than Ligier perhaps than Norma. That's why the Norma is so slippery in a straight line and shows great straight line speed figures. It's very good through the quick corners as well. But he Thompson reckons that, you know, just there's that little advantage at the start, and it's going to be hard to make up, particularly when Kenton is driving as well as he is.
Yes, the 24 of Tim George is also off the course. In speaking with some of the P1 Motorsports team yesterday, they expected Kenton to make a great start, and they were pleasantly surprised when he pulled out such a gap. But everyone was focused on Robbie Foley because it was the youngster from New Jersey. As, who was that? Oh, Watzinger got a little bit of help in his spin, and the rest of the field checked up behind. Maybe that's where the contact came from on the front of M. Bart Wolf's machine. But, well, didn't look too bad. He just got a little bit side-to-side contact with Watzinger. Probably broke the steering on Gerhard Watzinger because he went straight off the circuit and has continued in the same direction ever since. That would make sense. Yeah, Gerhard Watzinger out of his car. Not pleased that his season is ending this way, but this was his only weekend, so it wasn't a championship implication for the German-American. Tim George Jr. still sitting in his car, hoping that they can tow him out and he can get back going again. But yeah, the P1 team was so happy with what Robbie Foley was able to do off the start. They almost forgot about Kenton leading by a country mile. They were just so impressed with their youngster filling in the 17. His third weekend driving a car with significant amount of downforce. Doing a good job is Robbie Foley. Currently in the 4th position. Didn't have the best start today, but was sort of mugged by Tony Ave, who had a phenomenal start in that red number 44. Should also mention that Kyle Masson started 5th, has maintained that position. MPC leader, and the next closest to him is his father, 2 cars behind, Dr. Robert Masson, in the number 11. He is the MPC Masters leader, and had a good chat with him last night after he did get his first win yesterday. He said it's a confidence thing. Now he knows he can do it, so he's going back out today to just do the same thing again. He is in the running for the Masters Championship, Jeremy, and a win today, would that guarantee it for Dr. Masson?
It wouldn't, unless Stuart Retty finishes more than 1 place behind him. Right now, Stuart Retty is following Robert Masson. If he can maintain that position, that would be enough for Stuart Retty to win the Masters Championship by a solitary point. Just 3 points separating those two coming into this weekend. Or, excuse me, coming into this race. There's 5 points coming into the weekend. But Masson won yesterday with Retty in 2nd place, so that reduced the deficit from 5 to 3. And so therefore Robert Masson will need to win the Masters class and have Gary Gibson, he hopes, pass Stuart Retty and maybe move into 3rd place. But Gary Gibson, unfortunately, had that tri-point joint failure on the drivetrain yesterday, so he was out very early in the race and lost a lot of ground. But he was the other championship contender coming into this race weekend, but unfortunately lost an awful lot of ground yesterday. So it's going to be a tall order for Gary Gibson to come away with the Masters Championship.
We have another MPC car back into the pit lane. That is the number 86 of Dave House. Didn't have the best race yesterday, did Dave?
Well, he was involved in an incident somewhere, which wasn't his fault. He was punted off, and he came back actually quite well afterwards. He's, I think he's the oldest driver in the field, the least young driver in the field. But to tell you what, he doesn't lack any enthusiasm. And at 74 years of age, I'd say he was doing a mighty fine effort.
Yes.
And shame to see that car in the pits early in this race.
Didn't you say he's a bit of an adrenaline junkie?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to introduce.
Skiing. And, yes.
Gunnar Jeanette, if you are listening in the paddock, go find Dave House. You have a lot in common. You both are crazy. We love you for it, but you're a little bit crazy. 38 minutes to go in this contest. Kenton Cook leads from Colin Thompson, then Tony Ave. Colin doing quite a bit of weaving behind the Mazda MX-5.